All right, looks like we're live. Happy Monday. I know it's harder and harder with the weekends now, right? It's at least for me. I'm always looking forward to Mondays. You know, every time the weekend rolls around, especially when we get those 3 day weekends, it's hard. It's nice to try to find other things to focus on. Obviously, enjoying time with my kids and everything else. And, I had a great weekend, but it's always in the back of your mind, like, oh, I can't wait for Monday to come. Can't wait for Monday to come. So we're here. Second week of the live stream now. Kicking it off. I started last Monday, so this will be my sixth one, I guess. Um, but I'm excited. I'm excited about what basically the market in general, but the three stocks that I'm big on. I'm expecting some bigger things this week, and I'll go over that a little bit right now. BNGO. If you weren't here on Friday, I talked about I wanted to open up a new position in, and I did with some way further out leaps for 2023, my 2022, and then I also bought some kind of August calls that are just 2 months out in case things really get ripping now. If you're also in on BNGO, I talked about how last time back in April, it kind of busted through this moving average, and I was looking for it to hold it for support, before kind of getting. Let me see. Ooh, I didn't realize I had a comment up from last week. Sorry about that. So, eventually, what I'm looking for it to do is get up here and test this old high of $15. So that's what I'm looking for in the short term. It's kind of more of a lotto ticket type of play. I bought some short term calls that are about 2 months out. And if that doesn't happen, though, I'm still in on this company for the long haul. But what I'm looking for right now is, especially this week, is to not close below this moving average. If we get a close below this moving average, let's say today it starts to dump downwards again, or Tuesday, Wednesday, and we don't hold any support here, I'll probably look to exit so that I'm not, holding while this stock is really going downwards, which it has done a couple times. And this looks like back in April, but the entire market was kind of dropping in April. And if looking at the big picture, I'm trying to play a bounce here and look to get up to 15. Um, GameStop, or actually, you know what? Before we even get there, BNGO, just real quick. So, not only I'm looking to hold the moving average, but if you've watched any of my videos on them, I've talked about how they always have potential for these mini catalysts. BNGO is always announcing that they, got into contract, got their system in to new labs. And they have a really good marketing team in terms of putting out these press releases. Whether they're going to go speak at a forum or something like that. And today, they actually announced that they hired a new CBO, so a new Chief Business Officer this morning. So, like I said, seems like there's always good news coming out of this company for as long as I've been following them. And these can always serve as mini catalysts. When some of this good news gets announced, it brings in more retail interest, maybe more institutional interest, and that can always drive the stock up and serve to kind of propel us to that next level. So, new chief business officer this week. Last week, they hired a new chief commercial officer. And I talked about why I wanted to kind of get, calls a little bit further out to maybe price in, his work in the marketing side of it and price in a couple quarters. And that's why I went way out into 2023. All right. So, GameStop. Took a big hit last week. Actually, let me pull this up. Had some great momentum for about 3 weeks straight. And then on Thursday, just really, all the kind of meme stocks fell off last week and they all got hit hard on Thursday. They all somewhat rebounded, but GameStop kind of took the biggest hit. And so hopefully we're going to get, a big bounce back. I'd love to get back above this 250 level, for sure above this 265, kind of pull back above the moving average. As you can see, whenever we're trading above it, we usually have some great days. And in the past, when we've been below it, we've kind of gone flat. I do think that the floor for this stock has raised tremendously over time, and I don't think they can get it much lower than where it's at right now. I think 220 maybe might be our new floor. Um, but I really like to see this thing moving up a little bit. Um, in terms of news this week, there's the potential for them to, announce that they finished that at the money offering. They were offering 5 million shares to raise capital. And there was some, I know I mentioned it last week, but there was some speculation that they already completed that offering, because if you look at the free float numbers that were reported on some of these websites, it looked like there was already 2.5 million shares announced. And then someone else made a post over the weekend saying that it looked like there was maybe 5 million more shares being reported on there. So if they were to make an announcement, today, tomorrow, something like that, that the at the money offering was complete, typically in the past that served as, and not just with this stock because they've only done it once, kind of in the last 6 months, but with AMC and some of the other stocks that I've been following, once they announce, it's like when they announce they're going to do it, the stock kind of drops off, but then when they say they're done, the stock rallies again. So that's something I'm looking for from GameStop this week. And I know I mentioned it last week, and I mentioned it again. The T21 date is coming up next week. I believe it's Monday, the 21st. But that is right around the corner. And so even if we kind of trade flat this week, trade sideways this week, I would expect monster things from GameStop, you know, next week, probably Monday, Tuesday. So BNGO, or not BNGO, CLOV. With CLOV, it looks like we're slightly down in pre-market. We finished at, let me just pull this up because this trading view isn't always, it doesn't look like a typical, but it looks like the price is somewhat relative. So um, we finished the week at what, 1503, which was really a monster week. I mean, if you zoom out and take a look at, you guys are probably sick of me zooming out, but um, if you look at where Clove was, this is a daily chart now. So, down here in May, last week we made some huge gains. I mean, we started the week off here, I think at about 950. Had this monster Tuesday, and and then started to get our pullback. And it looked like we kind of found a bottom last week at 1350. We found support, and at 1450 we found support. My hope is, yeah, we're trading a couple, like a quarter below that right now at about 1470 in pre-market. But we get back above that 15 and now find that as a new support, because I think 15 is going to be a monster number, just in regards to the option chain and all the options expiring this week. $15 would be a nice level to hold. I don't see the stock going lower than 13 now. I know last week I was talking about looking for a gap fill, and we kind of got down here. We never really filled this gap, but I think we're beyond that now. At the very worst, I think we hold this moving average as support moving forward. But I think we've kind of, if you look at the RSI on this thing, on just a daily level, it was kind of really oversold after Tuesday. And a lot of times these things need to just cool off and they come down, and then I'm expecting us to see a bounce back this week. Um, the option chain. Let me pull this back up. We'll get these back over here. I keep bringing up the option chain because there is high potential for a gamma squeeze in Clove, and now we're at kind of like at the week, right? These options expire on June 18th. That's this Friday. In my experience, and I don't have a ton of experience with gamma squeezes, and I don't think, but I've just in the last 6 months, I've kind of been a part of a couple of them with GameStop, and was on a couple with AMC, kind of in and out. And the gamma squeeze, if you're new to it, is basically when calls go in the money on the option chain, and the algorithms that these funds have need to buy up those shares to keep up with the amount, like basically to hedge the amount of contracts they've written. So as we pass specific prices, um, as the share goes up, we start blowing through specific prices and strikes on the option chain. These algorithms need to start buying shares to hedge the contracts they've written, and that could give us some great upward momentum. We saw a little mini gamma squeeze last Tuesday on that big run up, but the potential for this thing to really blow up this week is really high. I mean, but we got to move the stock first, right? But so $15, we have 22,000. $18, we still have 23. 10,000 at 19. 26,000 at 20. And then this big number, and I'm skipping some over. I mean, there's a lot in between too, but these are significant numbers that I'm saying right now. The $22 strike, 35,000. I mean, we saw that as high as 56,000, I think, last week on Wednesday. So it has kind of fallen off a little bit, which is probably, people taking profits. Um, but 35,000 share or contracts is the equivalent of basically 3.5 million shares. If we can get this delta number up to 1, the closer. So what's going to happen this week is the closer that we get to Friday, anything that's out of the money, this delta is going to continue to drop, which means that the algorithms get rid of those shares, and anything that's in the money, the delta is going to continue to increase. But it's already, basically for $11 strike and below, it's already in the nines. But from 13 to 15 right now, there's some significant numbers in here that shares that needed to be hedged, but we just need to get the price higher, right? So I mean, if we can get above 15 today, maybe even push up a little bit to 16-ish, 17-ish, somewhere around there. That's more that are in the money. That's more that will continue to need to be hedged, and we need to continue that momentum throughout the week. I would say, if this gamma squeeze was going to happen, it would happen today, tomorrow, or Wednesday. Um, you know, and the sooner the better, because once we get up there and we get into the money on those, I'm expecting, just the way this option chain is loaded up, if we can blow past 18, the gamma squeeze would probably carry us all the way to 30. And by that time, you're talking about a lot of calls that'll be in the money, and now those will be new levels of support, and then from there, maybe a short squeeze takes over, or retail, kind of FOMO, where other people are jumping in and running in last minute to buy and not miss out, which can get us to new heights, right? So I'd love to see us test that this high of 28 this week. I think it's definitely possible. Volume is down. We'll have to see how that plays out. I mean, 1.3 million volume is still a lot of volume, considering that typically CLOV trades at about 9 million volume in a day. So 1.3 million right now in pre-market is high volume for CLOV, but still down on since last week, and that's kind of been the case, right? So Tuesday we traded at 7 times the float, and then Wednesday we lost some volume. Thursday and Friday we lost volume compared to those 2 days. So. But if we can keep up this volume that we saw last week, I mean, that would be pretty amazing in itself. Let's see here. I just want to get the number. So it looks like last week's volume. What do we got here? No, that's not right. This is the daily. I'll look it up later. I don't know how to get that daily volume on the TradingView app. So I've been trying to figure out. I got my other screen over here, and I was going to try to get the exact volume count. But I want to keep an eye on that too as the day goes. Like right now, we're at 1.3 million volume on the day, and I think that if we can, we want to be above. We want to be trading higher. We want the more, more volume is gonna. It to me is going to be an indicator that retail hasn't left. I know there was some talk last week about volume drying up and that being a good thing. So that does when volume dries up, that just means it's going to take shorts longer to cover. However, we want to get this stock to a higher price to force shorts to cover, and I think we're going to need some volume to really make that happen. In the case of some of these other stocks that are like squeeze plays, like GME, I remember volume drying up being looked at as a good thing, but this had been going on for months, and the indication was that, or the speculation was that volume was drying up because everybody was holding their shares, and so you only saw new positions entering the market or shorts trying to hammer the stock down, and it was saying that volume was dry because retail wasn't selling. And that could be the case with CLOV, but I don't think we're there yet. I think we still need more retail interest. We need more people to help move this stock to a higher level before we can start, celebrating low volume. All right, one last thing on CLOV I want to check is, or two last things. One, the iBorrow desk, because this is a stock that is getting short squeeze interest. And if you remember last week, so this is actually pretty interesting. So last week we had jumped up to 1.4 million shares returned, off of, what was this, on Thursday? There was somewhere like 300,000 available. And then all of a sudden we saw this jump up where like a million shares were returned on Friday. But like I said, even on Friday, there's about 50 million shares shorted out there. So even 1.4 million available isn't a huge number, but it looks like it decreased. So the shorts are still out there. Borrow fee is still high. A couple weeks ago, this was at 1%. On Tuesday, after the monster run up, it was at 100% or higher, but 13% is still a big number. And that borrow fee continues to put pressure on them. And it looks like there's still a lot of active shorts in the stock. So this still has the monster short squeeze potential. Ortex data. If you're new to this stream, I've kind of explained in the past. I'm not entirely familiar with it, but I do have access to it now. And just looking at it, it looks like short interest is up from the previous, so it's up to 41%. Estimated short interest to free float looks like it's up. We're at 43. Percent of free float on loan is up from 7 days ago. This number I know is smaller than Friday though. On Friday, I want to say this was at 49, and it's at 47 now. So a little bit of a drop off from Friday, but bigger than it was 7 days ago. Shares on loan, 52 million. I think that might have been at 54 last week, so 52.9. And that might just reflect that million shares that we saw returned on Friday. So, um, you know, everything else, cost to borrow, I mean, that's significantly high. And a 99 utilization rate or utilization is pretty. So this is absolutely a short squeeze. I mean, this is a huge short squeeze candidate. Also, Fintel on Friday, Fintel CEO put out a video on YouTube basically going over their data that they report and saying that he thought this was, had huge short squeeze potential. And also, I think it's the CEO of Vortex Data. He's got a Twitter and he's always putting out there, short squeeze ratings and all this, like, which ones have the top score on being able to short squeeze. And it was pretty interesting because he kind of lumped CLOV in with GME and AMC, which to me kind of shows that, CLOV is being viewed as one of the top three. So that might help pick up retail momentum, right? I mean, news like that, even though there's a lot of people, myself included, that are in CLOV as a long-term investment, and not necessarily for this potential gamma squeeze this week or short squeeze, which I'm just going to be real. I mean, it could take a lot longer than this week or 2 weeks from now. GameStop's been squeezing for almost 6 months, or at least that's how long I've been in it. So the squeeze could take a while too, but it's being looked at as not this minor kind of pump and dump, which is great. I mean, it's getting Fintel CEO, the Ortex CEO. You're having these other people that actually produce the data that are saying, "Nah, this is a big potential for a short squeeze play," and I think that can help in driving in more retail interest. And the retail interest has been there, right? That's why we're getting a higher volume. That's why the CLOV subreddit. If you're not familiar with Reddit, or maybe even if you are, check out the CLOV subreddit. They've been growing. I mean, they've almost tripled in the last week. And so retail interest is there. That's going to help. And this is still a huge short squeeze candidate. So kind of exciting times. Expecting or hoping for, good days, good week for all three of these stocks and any other stocks that you guys are into, right? So I'm just gonna, before the market opens, because we only got 8 minutes, see if there's any questions in there. Um, let's see. A couple calls for CLOV and some shares of BNGO. Okay, yeah, right on. I don't think you can go wrong with BNGO shares. I think that as time wears on, and even if it's 5 years from now, I mean, I think this stock has the potential to be trading at $100 or higher. So, $7 now is a steal. Um, and I don't know if you noticed kind of the same theme with all three of these stocks that I've been talking about. Is I believe that they're all going to be trading higher than where they are right now, and then significantly higher from where they are right now, within the next couple of years. And that's what makes me more apt to, yeah, BNGO I think is going to hit 15, um, shortly, like go test it, which makes it a good short-term play. GME and CLOV I think have the potential to squeeze, which makes them good short-term plays. But I try to get into these plays where I know that I feel that the long-term potential of the company is there too, because that way you don't become a bag holder, right? We're not buying into something that tomorrow is going to be back down to $5, and all of a sudden we're out. If the squeeze never happens on these two, or if BNGO doesn't test 15 in the short term like I feel it will, I still have the potential to make money off these stocks. At least that's the way I feel. No volume on CLOV this morning. There's vol. I mean, I know I already said it, but I'm just trying to go through these real quick. But if we get to 1.5 million, which it looks like we will, that's a high volume. That's almost 20%, 15% of what we normally see in a day for CLOV. So it's higher for CLOV, but it's a drop off from last week. Absolutely great fundamentals with a good future, even if it doesn't squeeze. I agree 100%. That's what I love about this play. Excited for this week. Me too. Very excited. Good morning, everybody. Let's see here. Greetings from Europe. Thanks for the great videos. Hey, I appreciate you watching all the way from Europe. That's exciting to me. Let's see. You think it's going to be an overall red day? Seems like the hedges want to repeat of last month. So, red day, red week. I don't think so. I think that with as much as we fell in terms of the week, which as much as we fell last week, after gaining, technically, this stock should be looking to bounce back. We really want to hold this moving average for support, but I think we found some support levels too. If we were to see a red day, I would expect it to be minor. Like maybe we pull back. We go up and down throughout the day, but we still close above 1450 or 1350 at the absolute lowest. That's what I would think. I think we're going to find support in those levels we did last week. If anything, what I'm expecting is maybe we run up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Maybe even get our gamma squeeze and everything, and then really start to see those hedge fund attacks on Thursday and Friday. That's just my opinion, but I also feel like they may try to slam these stocks hard right out the gate on Monday morning right now, to scare people away and maybe try to make it go away. Um, but even if we did see a dip right off the open because of that, I would imagine with the type of momentum that we still have right now in this stock, it'll probably get bought back up, and maybe let's just say we get a dip right off the morning. Maybe we bottom out somewhere around 13.50, hold that as support, and then slowly throughout the day, maybe even by the time we end the stream, about an hour and a half in, we kind of break above it and then go on to get into the positive. I'm really expecting a positive day today, um, but anything's possible. Um, let's see here. Lucky Monday. Fintel CLOV. Okay, so I went over that already. I'm pretty sure if you were in here. So basically, he did a video about their data, and that he thinks that CLOV is a good short squeeze candidate right now. And I think that that's great. I think that him putting that out there, and the Ortex guy that's been tweeting about it. I think his name is Eeyore, but he's been throwing out numbers too. And like I said, CLOV's kind of gaining that retail momentum, that retail interest, and we need that. We need to get more people in. I should say this. Let me back it up. In order to get the gamma squeeze and a short squeeze, we need that. But we don't. In terms of this being a solid investment and being a good buy right now, and having the opportunity for growth right now, we don't need it, right? But if we're looking for the gamma squeeze, if we're looking for the short squeeze, then absolutely getting that retail momentum and that retail interest, and all that is drawing attention to the stock, right? So when Fintel makes that video, when Ortex puts out information like that, it gets people aware, and hopefully those people kind of pile back in. I just hope that when people do this, they come in and hold, right? So they're coming in for the long haul, and or even for the short term. Like even if they're coming in just to get involved in the squeeze, that's not a 1 day process, right? So what we don't want is the 1 day pump and dumpers. We don't want the people that are just going to run in, buy up some stock and then jump right out and trade it. Um, you know, and that's kind of what I've been trying to do too. Is I want to get the word out there and let people know about the long term potential of this stock. Um, if you're new to the stream, if this is your first time, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I do this every day. I'm starting to do this every day. I will be doing this every day from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. every morning. Every morning when the markets are open, and then I try to do power hour as well. So if I can get on during power hour, I will. So we're open. Um, Looks like we got some red candles. Let's check out. So the S&P 500, it's like it kind of opened flat, like right around where it closed last week, and that's kind of, you know, on a red candle right now too. It's kind of hard to tell in that first opening wick what's going on, but I've talked about this a lot. That the S&P 500 can be a good indicator of where the markets are going to go for the day, and sometimes it can drag down your stock. But the other thing that we also talked about was that these stocks seem to trade independently sometimes of the rest of the market. So see what happens. It does look like it's starting to get hit, as someone kind of called out in the chat. We'll see how we rebound off this. BNGO, that looks like it's starting to pop. Nice opening candle. And we're in the first minute, right? I mean, anyone who's watched this before knows that, the candle, that very first candle might take you all the way down to here, and then the next two are gonna, I'm talking 1 minute candles now. So we're looking at 5 minutes, but which are made up of, so basically from 6:30 to 6:34. It's all that those little mini 1 minute candles that make this candle up. So, yeah, we went down to here, but the next 2 minutes may end up taking us into green. So, uh, try not to get too excited off the opening candle, but usually what we're doing is we're establishing a range. I keep talking about that every morning, but if we finish somewhere in the middle here, now we'd be looking to either break above it or below it. On these following candles, we want to break above, but day traders might look for a breakout below to jump in and short it. Yeah, so BNGO looks like it's what we got going on there. Probably just off that news of the CBO announcement. Like I said, this stock always has these little mini catalysts. This great news. They got a great PR team, and they're constantly just putting information out there. Usually around like 4 in the morning, they'll put out a little report about something, and a lot of times it can make the stock move a little bit. And sometimes that's what you need, right? It's just these little mini catalysts. I'm taking a look at some of these other stocks. It looks like it's not just BNGO with this nice green candle here. We got AVXL, which I'm not in right now, but I talked about I wanted to get a position going on, and that looks like it's really taken off on this front candle. And BlackBerry and AMC also, nice big, kind of green candles here. GameStop, not so much. CLOV, not so much. And the S&P 500 looks almost identical to this right now. Big red candle. So let's see what happens. Christina says, "Let it drop and buy more." Yeah, that's the spirit, right? You're getting it on sale right now, and that's for real. Like, especially when you're in higher. If your average price is up here at $18 or something like that, and now you can average down and continue to average down. Yeah, these little dips like this is absolutely a time to kind of get in. I'm gonna just pull up one more stock over here. I gotta figure out which one I want to take off. Okay. So let's see what happens. It looks like this bottom wick hasn't even touched 14. And that could be our support level, that we kind of bounce off today. Last week it was 1450, I think, was kind of like that midday bottom that we found. Or this could be it right now. So if this is kind of the opening range, if we can get a couple candles going and then get a nice little breakout, we can take off from there. Could also go the opposite direction, right? CLNE has a good start going. Let me check that one out. 5 minute here. Okay, yeah, I see it. So it looks like that one kind of gained more in pre-market. What about like gained in pre-market, and it had a nice big green candle too. Well, damn, I wish we were trying to track it with the other memes right now. Like I said, BlackBerry and AMC broke out the day on some big candles. 51 to 54 for AMC, and 1424 to about 1460 for BlackBerry. Um, very similar movement to this BNGO. So it looks like those might all kind of be tracking together right now. And yeah, that CLNE is kind of moving upwards. It looks like, two green candles in a row. So let's see where this goes. CLOV looks like it's starting to get back. And again, like I said, if we could just, hold green, green again, and then we just want to look to break out of these levels now, like 1461 and 1480 is the levels that we'd be looking to break out. And then obviously, like we talked about before, if you've been in the stream last week, you know, and I should probably take this option chain off now. Sorry, I always forget that. If you guys ever notice, call me out in the chat. I want to keep the level 2 up here, but sometimes when I switch over to the option chain, I forget to go back to it. But in terms of resistance levels, other than these numbers that I just kind of said, I would imagine 15 would be a big one, and I don't see much in there now at 15. But I would imagine that would be one, and then again because of the option chain, right? So, and all these strikes on the option chain, especially the ones with significant open interest, those would be the ones I would imagine we'd see the most resistance at. But I have a feeling that once we get past 18, it's not going to matter. We're just going to blow through that thing. So, would be nice to get it going today. I noticed we got more people in here viewing today. That's awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you for the support. If you're enjoying the video, please hit the like button and also subscribe, right? Or share the video with a friend. I'm trying to build up this, people coming in here and watching, hopefully gain some exposure for some of these other stocks. And I just have fun doing it, And so if you are enjoying, you can let me know by hitting that like button. If you don't like it and for some reason you just like torturing yourself and sitting in here, hit the dislike button, hit the down one. You can let me know how I'm doing with that too. Let's see where we're at. So kind of that same thing, like BNGO here would look to be, kind of get above 8. Seems like it's hitting some resistance there. So that might be a big number for BNGO to kind of break out on the day. Man, I'm really looking at this AVXL right now because I don't know if you guys, anyone who was in here last week, I think we had talked a little bit. We were talking about some of the other, stocks in that industry and approvals. And someone else talked about AVXL. I got a buddy who's big in AVXL, and we've been talking about potentially opening a position. And man, that thing shot from 16 to 1850 already from close last week. I think it might have even closed. Yeah, it looks like it closed last week at 1550, and it's sitting at 1850 right now. So, wish that would have been the one I opened a position on Friday. Hats off to you. I don't care what you do for a career. So, I'm actually a teacher, high school teacher, and I'm off this summer. That's why I started doing this stream because I'm off work now until August. But I mean, I also spent the last year doing this anyways, right? Like talking into a screen of high school students and just basically talking, doing all the screen sharing and everything else. So, but I've been invested in the stock market for quite some time, almost 10 years now. Trading more like 5 years, and options probably for about 3 years. So I've been kind of doing this, and I enjoy doing it. And I just figure like if I'm going to sit here and watch these stocks, why not watch it with somebody else? And sit here and talk, answer questions, maybe look at what other people throw out in the chat. On top of that, so I'm a high school teacher, and I'm also a high school football coach. Hence the name Coach B. That's but yeah. All right, so it looks like CLOV's still looking for a bottom. I would imagine we'd be able to kind of find that $14 mark. Or like I said earlier, 13 at the lowest, 13.50 ish. I don't see us falling below there. We should be able to pick up some support where we left off last week, and also we kind of have that moving average, which usually holds the support as well. So interested to see what happens here. So it looks like I know I had said BlackBerry and AMC had those big candles. They've already pulled back and kind of gave it all back now. So um, let's see here. GameStop also trending downwards. I expect GameStop to find support at 220. I think that'll be a significant kind of number for them. I think that might be the new floor moving forward. I'm hoping so, but it looks like everything's kind of drawing down right now. Um, and and by everything, I'm talking these popular stocks, right? So, um, the short squeeze stocks, your CLOV, your GameStop, your BlackBerry. BlackBerry's now red on the day. Um, even CLNE, I pulled that one up. It looks like that one's giving it all back. So this could be some sort of short attack, or um, we've seen a lot of these stocks get attacked all at once. And also, and I'm not sure about this, but this would just be speculation. So I do know that one of the ways that shorts have been able to drive the price down on GameStop over the past is through the use of ETFs, right? So an ETF's a basket of stocks, and there's some ETFs out there that, this is going back all the way to like February, that were found to disproportionately hold some of the bigger meme stocks in them, as if they were created just for the purpose of shorting. There was one ETF that had, almost 60% of it was GameStop, another 30% was AMC, and then the rest was just some other stocks. And then those ETFs would get shorted, and that also brings the stock down. So I don't know. I can't really explain why it is that all of these popular stocks would jump all at the same time on the same patterns, and not be moving with the market. Um, but maybe that could be why, you know. But they do look like, if you could see, I have, like I've said in the past, I keep looking this way because I have another 12 charts over here of different stocks that I'm watching, and they're all moving together right now. See what happens. It's early. I want to see what the while we're kind of sitting here. I'm going to see what the option chain looks like on AVXL. That is I don't like to be involved in too many stocks at once, but this is a stock that I've been really interested in, and I just want to see if I miss the boat now or not. Like, is it going to be too overpriced? Yeah, so you're paying almost 25% for a leap. I wouldn't want to go that soon, anyways. Um, well, that's something I'm definitely going to look into. It's probably a little bit too late. Let me get this back up here. I'm just going to pull this up real quick in case anyone's interested in what. I know you guys can't see what I'm looking at right now. But again, this is a stock that I've been kind of watching, and this is what I'm looking at is, it's been trading right here and kind of had like this ceiling of 15 or, right in that range. And then all of a sudden today, we see this pop, not only a gap up, but then a pop at the open. And now it's up here in this 1850 range. Starting to get a little bit of FOMO. No news today either. So, yeah, I'm gonna take a look into this, after the live stream and see what's up. It might be too expensive to get in now. If anything, I might wait for it to pull back a little. After this kind of, I would imagine, what is that, a 20% run? Um, you know, Maybe wait for some sort of pullback, or I mean, it could just continue to keep running. Who knows? But that is a stock that I've been interested for a while. And I just haven't had the chance to really open up a position yet because, I already have my plays going. And sometimes that's fine too. One thing that I have learned over the years, and usually, you learn more from your losses, right? Most of my losses have been when I'm trying to chase after something. And sometimes it's entirely okay to just, you see that something else is moving and you missed out, and that's fine. And that's part of the psychology of this whole thing, that, yeah, if you hold and you wait for a dip or a good entry point, you may never get that entry point. You may just miss that play, but there'll be other plays. Um, but if you hold and you wait for a good entry point on the stock and it comes to you, now you're able to get in and you didn't miss out on really anything. But when you rush in and you try to buy something at the top, just because, you're a little late to it or whatever it may be, that's usually when you become the bag holder. That's usually when you kind of, again, I'm not doing anything with that yet, but that was pretty interesting on AVXL. And I'm going to do a little research on that after this stream and see what's going on there, and maybe if it's still kind of a decent time to get in. But that is a company that I think also, has some long term potential, that I've been kind of following for quite some time. I just wasn't ready to get into it yet. There is no greater way to lose money than to be in a hurry to make money. Absolutely, that's basically what I'm saying. But interesting stuff, you know. When it pops like that off no news, I'd love to know what's going on there. Looks like RKT's running too right now a little bit. I mean, it's still down off the high of 23 the other day, but so last time after and this may have no bearing at all, but last time after the GameStop squeeze in January, shortly after, I think it might have been February, RKT started getting some hype behind it, and I was fortunate enough to kind of see that sentiment happening in the kind of on Reddit and stuff, and be able to jump in on that. And that thing blew up to like $40 in one day, off of 20, so it went on like 100% run almost. Um, so that's one I kind of keep an eye on too, only because in that when I was invested in it and when we kind of got in for that run up and doing some reading on it, it seems like they always just absolutely smash earnings, but they don't do anything. The stock never moves, so it's kind of a highly suppressed stock that I think at some point down the road, maybe something to get into too. But again, I'm not opening any positions. These are just kind of stocks that I'm watching for potentially future plays. Um, my plays right now are kind of these three: CLOV, GameStop, BNGO. That's what I'm looking at. At least that's what I think has the most potential for growth right now in the short term and long term, with some of these. Let's see here. So 6:50. So we're about 20 minutes in. Yeah, we got to find a bottom here. So it's like we touched 1378. I would expect to hold up 1350 if we get that low. And that's just if you look back at the other day. We did find support here at 1450. This is going back to Friday on that dip. But then off the morning dip, we found support right around this 1350 mark. And so that's where I'm thinking if we continue on this downward trend that we're on right now, hopefully we kind of bottom out and hold this same support line from Friday. Um, I was hoping it would have been here and we would have held 1450, but it looks like we fell below it, and it looks like we are kind of going down right now, to maybe test that again. If we break below that, then maybe gap filling that old, level of $12, is a possibility. I kind of thought that we were past that, because we looked like we were reversing. I still think we are. But even if that was to happen, I mean, I keep saying it. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but 9 out of 10 times those gaps do get filled, and we still have a significant gap going all the way back to $12 from Tuesday. So we'll see how it goes. It looks like the S&P 500 is still kind of moving downwards, so this might be a down day for the market in general. And sometimes that stuff will drag us down too. Looks like AMC's down from its open, although it's up from last week. So it's having a positive day. Um, BlackBerry just kind of went into the negative territory. Um, if you're just joining us, I'm only bringing up these other stocks not because I'm invested in them, but because recently, a lot of these memes or highly shorted stocks or popular stocks from Reddit have been tracking together. And so trying to just keep an eye on the market in general and see where we're at. But it does look like the S&P 500 is looking to break lower right now too. And that could continue to draw us downwards. So BNGO looks like it's let me zoom into this. I hate this brown background for the after or the pre-market. Let's get these charts a little bigger. We don't need to see all that stuff anymore. It looks like BNGO might be holding VWAP, which would be good there. Anyone who got in on that play, or I know some of you were already in on it. I know when I made that video on Friday, some people in the chat were saying like, "Oh yeah, I've been long BNGO for a long time." So potentially good here if BNGO could kind of bounce off this VWAP and maybe look to create new highs. I know $8 has been a significant resistance level there in the past. And, if we can bust through that, maybe hold it for support on our next run. Really, with CLOV right now, we're just looking to kind of find the bottom. Once we find the bottom, we can go make new highs, right? Same thing with GameStop. Looks like, we never tested 220. But I think 220, I could see this falling to 220 before it turns around up here with GME. Is anybody in the chat? Does anyone know what's going on with AVXL at all? If anyone's familiar with it, I can't see any news on my end about it, but it does look like it's still moving. All right, let's see what happens here. So with these candles, and I've said it before, I mean, sometimes it's just, we're pulling back or we're pulling up to go lower. But, if we can get one of these candles to, kind of close higher than the old red one, to get our green to close higher, not necessarily go higher. There's still 3 minutes left, but if it can close higher, that might, signal a reversal. Um, and I do expect this stock to reverse today too. You got hit hard off the open. I think that we still got some momentum behind this thing, and if we look right now, looks like volume is at 11 million, and that's pretty high, considering again, this stock trades at 9, so and we're only in the first. We're still within the first half hour, so lower than recently, but you know, higher than what typically happens for CLOV. As a matter of fact, I'm just so if you look, today's daily volume is way down here. But that's usually what we get with CLOV on a normal day. So let's see how much higher it goes. If volume can increase, pick up, and also, so it looks like this level that we just touched, like this 1350 level, also happens to be where the daily moving average is at right now. So I would say maybe we have found our bottom already, which would be absolutely amazing, right? If all of a sudden, there we go, and now we can pick up. Average my price down. I'm very happy. Good. I'm happy for you. I can't. I can't buy this dip only because I've been buying too many dips already. After Tuesday, I bought some of the dip on Thursday, and I bought a little bit more on Friday. Opened up a new position in a new stock, in BNGO on Friday, and now I'm in that sit back and wait mode. Right now, I'm just holding to see what happens because, um, you know, capital's tied up other places, and that's kind of where I'm talking about too. Like sometimes it's hard when you see other stocks moving or other stuff. Like I've been seeing even on Reddit right now that there's a lot of sentiment in some other stocks that were kind of building up over the weekend. Um, but I don't want to spread myself too thin. I'm already invested in these 3 plays. I feel strongly about these 3 plays. And so, I'm not looking to open up a new position in anything else until I can kind of take profits from one of these. So if we get the gamma squeeze on CLOV, and I'm able to exit, I got some really, really bad calls now on the June 18th, $43 or $40 calls that I'm really upside down on. That I kind of bought as just like lotto tickets. I mean, obviously they still have an opportunity to, they still have an opportunity to run if we hit the gamma squeeze, but those will be the first ones I exit if the gamma squeeze happens. Just because those are the ones that are more likely to expire worthless. So something like that. If I'm able to dump those ones off in the middle of a gamma squeeze tomorrow, today, Friday, then I'd look to maybe move that money into a new play if we get something going. AVXL, absolutely. Like I said, I'm not in it. I want to be. That was a stock that I was even talking to a buddy of mine the other day. I'm on a couple different group threads, and one of them, we're around the clock throwing out ideas and everything else. And AVXL is one that everybody in the thread was really high on, along with BNGO. And I felt a little bit stronger about BNGO, and I still do. But AVXL was one that it's like, man, we need to get a position going on this one too. And uh, it looks like it's starting to lift off. But like I said, after this stream, I am going to take a look at it and just kind of see if maybe I can come up with some good entry points on where I'd want to jump in. I wouldn't want to jump in right this very second, just because I'd want to get some sort of pullback first, and maybe there won't be one. What do we got here? So it looks like we definitely are somewhat reversing here this trend. MACD hasn't crossed over yet. These are lagging indicators. Same with the RSI. We're still in this lower. I mean, we were in this grossly oversold kind of zone down there. So, um, we still got a ways to go before we really kind of reverse the trend. But this is absolutely bullish. We just want to hold here. I mean, we want to obviously get a new green candle, and it looks like we're hitting some resistance at that VWAP level, which is volume weighted average price. And right now, that is at about what, $14.15, somewhere around there. But if we could break above there, I would say we're absolutely gonna, starting kind of an upward trend, upward momentum. Looks like GME maybe is finding a bottom here. Um, that would be absolutely amazing if we can get above 250. I got some 250 calls that I bought a long time ago that were looking absolutely amazing last week, and now they are no longer in the money. What do we got here? AVXL received a buy rating and a $35 price target from Jones Trading Analysts today. Okay. Yeah, 1550. I know that. I've been watching it heavily for a while now, and I knew they closed at 1550 on Friday. But I didn't understand why it got this big pump today. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And that's the one thing too. Like, I'm sure if I go on my Thinkorswim app, I used to have like my news tickers all set up, and I'd be on top of it. I switched to this TradingView app just for this live stream, and I'm still kind of learning it. I did find their news feed over here where I can click and actually see the news, um, but I don't really like the news it's giving me. I click on CLOV, I click on GME. It's just talking about all this social buzz crap. I want to see like, well, I mean, today it did. I did read about the new hire for BNGO on here. So, um, but I feel like just now when we had that AVXL chart up, I'm just gonna check. I didn't feel like that information was available on there. Yeah, I mean, there's no new. The last news article it posted for them was June 8th. So, I mean, you know, it's something I got to figure out. Maybe I got to get a news ticker down here from one of my other apps. Put BNGO back up. So let's see. I'd love to see CLOV kind of break above VWAP right now. That would be amazing. Really get us moving in another direction. And it does look like, I know I had said earlier, that AMC and BlackBerry were kind of drawing down around that same time. Um, Looks like AMC did break above VWAP, which, like I said, if we're trending with the other memes and we can get above because of that, that would be awesome too. But it looks like AMC starting to just close the candle above VWAP, which would be, bullish if you're in on AMC right now. Um, Everything else is kind of the same. If you are new to the stream, hit the subscribe button. I do this every morning, 6 to 8 a.m. on the West Coast. So, what is that, 9 to 11 if you're on the East Coast. It's basically half hour before market opens, and I'll run for about an hour and a half into the market. And then if I can, I come on in the afternoons for power hour, for that last hour of the market open. And I'm enjoying this. Like if you're new to it and you're in here, you're having fun. You enjoy watching. Hit the subscribe button. That way you get notified when I go live. Also, if anybody has any questions about anything, I'm not an expert by any means, and I'll continue to say that. But if I can answer the question, I'll try to. If not, I'll find the answer for you. And sometimes I don't have the answers, and the contributions in the chat can give us the answers we're looking for, right? Like we just got, I was looking for information about AVXL. Someone threw it in there for me. I appreciate that. And to me, that's what this is about, right? It's not necessarily about you guys listening to me talk. I'd love to see, what your thoughts are on stuff too. I mean, that's how I learn. So if you do have questions, comments, anything, go ahead and drop them in the chat. And I mean, that's what this is all about. I'm just going to take a look at the option chain right here and see if we get any. So not a lot of volume on the in the money calls, but we did see some increase in volume today. That's the one good thing about these dips in regards to the gamma squeezes. When we do get down here, it gives people an opportunity to kind of jump back in and continue to load this chain up. And the gamma squeeze potential on this stock is I would say probably the best in the market right now for what I've seen. Obviously, I haven't seen every stock in the market, and the option chain of it. But I mean, if you look at this, it is absolutely loaded up right now. And but that means nothing if we can't get past those numbers, right? We got to get past these big numbers. 15 is going to be huge, and then I think the next one's 18. Get past 18, we're really going to kick this thing off. Okay, well, that's kind of where I started right now. So yeah, I'll get into that a little bit while we're sitting here. So can you simplify options gamma squeeze in case of CLOV? Yeah. So what happens is, with the options chain, and right now I have the June 18th chain pulled up. This number right here is the open interest. So that is the amount of call contracts that have been written. Now, there's two ways you could write a call contract. You could write a call contract covered, which is usually the way like me or you would do it. I own 100 shares. I'll write a contract to you that if this stock closes above $20, you could buy them for me for $20. So if the stock goes to 30, you still have the rights to buy them for 20. That if that was the strike price. But at the end of the day, I'm covered. I own those 100 shares, and so when you exercise that contract, you're just taking 100 shares out of my account and you're getting them. That doesn't affect the gamma squeeze at all. But naked calls, like uncovered calls, which essentially are naked calls, are basically written by bigger institutions, hedge funds, people who kind of have the margin requirements to be able to write those things. And I know some retail investors can too. Very dangerous practice. If you are able to write naked calls, I would say don't, because you could really get screwed with it. But basically what happens is, and I would imagine that it's the majority of these, let's just take a look. For the $14 strike has $9,000 calls written. The $14.50 strike, 10,000 calls. The $15 strike, 22,000 calls, and so on. Well, each of those calls stands for 100. Has 100 shares underlying below it. Each contract gives someone the right to purchase 100 shares. So these people who wrote the naked calls, they don't own all the shares. But what this delta number right here is basically the amount of shares that they should be hedging in order to kind of, hedge their bet and stay in a safe position. So as the stock price rises, this delta number goes up. And, these big institutions and hedge funds have like algorithms and bots that basically will go into the market and purchase the shares to continue the hedge. So I hope that makes sense. So like right now, this $15 strike price has 22,000 contracts, which essentially is 2.2 million shares, right? But it's about 50% hedged right now, which means of that 2.2 million shares, 1.1 million are owned by institutions and hedge funds. Now, as this price increases, if we can get up to 16, 17, this number right here of 0.47 will eventually increase to 0.6, 0.7, 0.8. And what's happening during that time is those algorithms and bots are purchasing more shares to continue to hedge these contracts that they have written. And obviously, as you know, it's just like a never ending. That's why it's called a gamma squeeze, because not only are they hedging these, but now this 1450, there's a million shares there, 500,000 of which aren't covered yet. They're going to start buying those. You know, 9,000 here. There's 9,000 here, of which only 70% are hedged. So it just continues to go. And as it hedges, it creates more need for hedging, and it keeps driving the price up, right? Because they're going into the market and they're buying more shares. Buying shares moves the price up, which propels us into these other big numbers. 2.3 million shares at $18, 1 million shares at $19, 2.6 million shares at $20, and that just they keep buying shares, keeps driving the price higher. $22, I think, is the significant strike right now. That's 3.5 million shares that would potentially have to be hedged if we can get that in the money. Um, you know, and it's only 15% hedged right now. So that's 85 shares per contract, and there's 35,000 contracts that would still need to be bought. And so that's how a gamma squeeze works. It's just the price of the stock continues to go up, which gets these strike prices in the money. And as these strike prices go into the money, they need to be hedged. And as they're hedged, that means they're buying more shares, which makes it go higher. And it just keeps going until eventually it blows out the option chain, which right now is sitting at $43. So we did see a little mini gamma squeeze last Tuesday, where we saw a run up that went, at the time, the option chain only went up to $22, and we actually rolled all the way up to 25 before falling back down. And, you know, I should mention this while I'm talking about it. So it works in both ways. You know, just like how they have to hedge those shares, once the price goes lower and those stocks get out of the money again, now they could dump those shares. They no longer need to own them. So, you know, it kind of works both ways. It goes up and down. The same way that the options chain can give us upward momentum, it can also, you know, amplify the downward momentum. So it's also important that, you know, we do get people coming in buying shares to make that price go higher and help sustain that higher price. And it's not just, I know one question we got last week was, is it just the June 18th expirations? No, it's everything. So they all have these delta numbers assigned to them. So right now I just pulled up the July chain, and it looks like, you know, like the $15 strike, 1.3 million shares, of which 55% of them are hedged. $20 strike, 1.9 million shares, of which 38% are hedged. So it's the entire option chain, all the way even out here to like these 2023s. You know, not nearly as many shares, but they all still need to be hedged. And that's basically what's happening, you know, is that this option chain is so overloaded right now, which is good for us, right? We have momentum. You know, we just need to kind of build off it. It's got short squeeze potential, and it has this gamma squeeze potential. Um, but we need to get the stock above those price points. And for me, I think that you know, the $15 and the $18 are going to be the biggest one. So does the same also apply to puts? Kind of. So basically, puts offset calls. So, you know, and the market maker is essentially a bookie, right? You know, if you think about sports betting, I used to bet a lot of sports, and so I like to think of it in that way, or even a casino. Um, you know, they want bets on both sides, right? They don't want to be typically they don't want to be in a position where they're betting against a stock or betting for a stock. They want to get just as many calls as puts, and it offsets, and they make money in between. Um, but in the case of this, what happens is, you know, so they would like to write just as many calls as they are writing puts, and that way they don't have to hedge anything. So if there was 22,000 open interest at the $15 strike, you would then look at. Let me see if I can pull this up. So like at I'll just add, as an example, the $15 strike right now has 22,000 open interest, and for puts it has 19,000 open interest. So is that correct? That seems way off. There must have been a lot more put interest that came in. Um, what's the 22 at? 2,000. So it looks like there a lot of puts probably came in at the $15 mark right now. See, usually I look at a chain that's got the calls and puts right next to each other on my Thinkorswim, and right now this one separates it. So this is pretty interesting in itself. So there is quite a few puts at this $15 mark, um, which means it would offset. So this 19,000 right here. Compared to this 22,000 is really only a difference of 3,000 now that would have to be hedged. So I hope that makes sense. Like, you take the calls and the puts, and it's the difference between them is what would have to be hedged. But a lot of those other strike prices, when I looked last week, weren't as that seems that number right there. That might be kind of be the line where, after that point is where things are really going to get hairy for the naked call riders. Because just looking, so we got 23 and 10. If I go back to the 18 mark, let's see. Yeah, so there's a difference there of 21,000. Difference there of 4,000, and a huge difference there at 34,000. So, like I said, still major gamma squeeze potential. But yes, puts work in the opposite direction. Okay, so and that basically allows them to offset that hedging if they have that many puts written out. So it looks like we want to get back above this VWAP and hold above there to really be trending upwards, like I said earlier. Um, and it looks like GameStop's also trying to do the same thing to get back above. Just looking around the market right now, so BNGO is absolutely busted through that $8 resistance level. Interested to see what happens here. This is a stock, BNGO, that has the potential to just run out of nowhere. I mean, if you look at its daily chart and that run up it went from 50 cents to $15 in a matter of 2 months. So when it gets moving, it moves, which is why I made kind of that short term bet too to see if it would test a 15 before August or the middle of August. Um, but yeah, I'm excited about that today. Just looking around, it looks like BlackBerry just tested the high of the day, or it's still testing it. AMC's kind of made some new highs. Um, So it's just us. We're lagging. GameStop and CLOV need to go make their new highs. What's going on here? Um, CLNE's kind of ripping all time. It's moving into new highs right now. So, maybe we're just lagging a little too, right? And that's why I like to look at these because it looks like all of the popular, highly shorted stocks, the so to speak meme stocks, they're all kind of, making their little runs today, and we're just lagging behind a little. So, you know, maybe it's going to be our turn in about 10 minutes. Let's see what happens. Oh, see, I always forget to turn off the option chain. I like to look at this level 2 data to see if there's any like big walls or anything like that. Um, and I mean, we haven't seen any massive walls since the Tuesday run up when we just started hammering through them too. And by massive, I mean we were seeing like sell orders in here on this level 2 of like 35,000, 50,000, just some crazy numbers, and just absolutely hammering through them. I'm hoping we can get back to that soon. See here if GameStop can break through. Kind of the same thing. You want to be above this VWAP, this volume weighted average price. And then that's when you can kind of start your runs on the day and go test your highs and all that kind of stuff. Um, if you're joining kind of late or you missed the beginning this morning, a couple things I went over. BNGO, I opened a new position up on Friday. They just announced today that they hired a new chief business officer. Um, so a new CBO, which could be why the stock's moving today. But I've said in the past, they always kind of have they're always making these announcements, these positive news. They got a great marketing team, or PR team that's really always putting out information that gives the stock potential to move. Last week they hired a new chief commercial officer. So kind of exciting stuff happening here with GameStop. I didn't see anything on the news ticker yet, but we're looking for potentially the company to announce either today, tomorrow, sometime early this week that they completed their at the money offering. Um, they were gonna, issue 5 million shares, to kind of raise a little bit of capital while the stock is at these elevated prices. Um, and this was after the exciting news last week of, beating earnings, Ryan Cohen taking over as chairman of the board, among other things. And, so they had this at the money offering, stock got hit hard. But I'm assuming once they announce that they've completed it, that could even serve as a little catalyst to kind of get the stock moving back in the upward direction. So we're looking for that, and we're also looking for next week. I believe next Monday is another T21 day, which the last 3 or 4 of these things have been absolutely monstrous. So really hoping or expecting that I'm hoping, that GameStop can make a little bit of a rebound this week because I have some 250 calls that expire on Friday that are no longer in the money, and that hurts. So I'd like to see us get above 250. The sooner the better. But I also know that next week, next Monday, we should see another huge rally with that T21 coming up. And, at some point, this thing's just going to pop. That's my expectation, at least. When you zoom out and you look at uh, kind of the, what's happened here since the big run up, it looks like we've hit 350. We hit 350 here, went back around, and we were just about to hit 350 the other day. So at some point when we bust through this 350 and we actually get past it, because that seems to be like the big battle. I mean, if you've been in GameStop for a while, you know that there was some other kind of significant numbers that we kind of like battled through for a while. But if we can get above 350 and actually close above 350 and hold above 350, I have a feeling that you're going to see, a run that's going to surpass this 480. That's my expectation. That's why, I mean, if you look at, just to put it into perspective, this is a very similar chart, right? We're looking at AMC, and this is that January run up, and again, GameStop looks kind of similar, right? It was hitting resistance here, um, hitting resistance here, kind of the same thing. And now let's zoom it out. Look what happened when AMC finally passed that old high, passed those resistance, and just absolutely took off to monstrous new heights. That's what I'm kind of expecting GameStop to do. I think that once we can get through this 350 level, close above it, stay above it, go on to make an all-time high, this is going to look like nothing. I mean, this is just going to be a little blimp on your daily chart now, as we reach upwards of 800 and blow out the option chain and everything else. So that's what I'm expecting. Um, but I'd really love to get above 250 this week. Either that, or I'm probably going to roll those options out, at least to kind of to price in. I wasn't thinking when I bought those. I bought those options, I think, almost a couple months ago, and I got them for pretty cheap too, considering what we're trading at right now. Um, but so while they are like making me money every day that goes by now, I'm going to be losing money because I'm out of the money. And my initial hope was going to be to, maybe sell some of them to exercise one of them and get myself 100 more shares, something along those lines. But um, that would have been a lot easier to do if we were trading above 300 like we were last week. So at this point, I might look to roll those 250 calls out and take advantage of that T21 that's supposed to be happening next week. Let's see here. In terms of CLOV, I mean, earlier when we first started, I went over the iBorrow desk. I'm gonna take a look at it again. We had what 500,000 shares available when we looked last time, and we got 700 now. So I mean, this is still not a lot of stock returned. Um, that's interesting though that the borrow fee cut in half. So it looks like the borrow fee's down to 5%. Um, I don't really understand why or how they do that. I mean, I know what the borrow fee is. That's the rate they're getting charged when they borrow the stock. But it sometimes, I mean, this doesn't. If anyone else kind of gets it a little, grasp it a little bit more. But how do you go from being at 1% 2 weeks ago to 200% or 120% last Tuesday? And then down to 30, and then kind of dwindling back out to where now we're back down to 5. Like, um, you know, I've always thought it had to do with, kind of how hot the stock was. Like if there was a lot of people trying to borrow it and there wasn't enough shares to borrow, then they would raise the borrow fee, right? They're going to take advantage of those people that want to borrow the stock. But if you're looking at a stock that, has less than 1 million shares available, I would imagine that, again, you would get a higher borrow fee. And what really doesn't make sense is when you think about it in that sense, like for instance, I'll pull up GameStop. Um, I haven't even looked at GameStop's borrow fee in a little bit, but same thing. Look, 30,000 shares available, 35 available, 150, and this super low borrow fee, like less than 1%. So, kind of doesn't make sense to me. You would think when you have less shares available, they would raise up the rates. That's usually how it happens, I would imagine, but it doesn't seem like that's the case with these two stocks, at least. Turn this back on CLOV. Or text data still looks the same. Doesn't look like we got any sort of update there. Shares on loan is still high. It's down 1 million from Friday, but still high. 99 utilization rate. Cost to borrow dropped a little bit too, which correlates with what we just saw on that iBorrow desk. So, but everything still looks great for the potential for a short squeeze as well, right? But these things don't happen by themselves. In order to get a short squeeze, you need to get the price up high. Um, one way we can get the price up high is through the use of a gamma squeeze, which we also have great potential and setup for. But none of that's going to happen if we can't get the price higher. So the price needs to get above 15. It needs to get above 16, 17. And I think at that point, that's where we're really going to start seeing this gamma squeeze kick off if we can get there. And hopefully the gamma squeeze course forces some shorts to cover. And that would be considered a short squeeze at that point, right? And then things would start pushing upwards from there. Let's check through these comments. Again, if you're new to the stream, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, ask questions, leave comments. If you think I'm full of shit, tell me. And hit the dislike button. I mean, I'm just here talking, and I enjoy doing this. And if you got other stocks you want me to check out, I could pull them up on the screen. We could talk about those, but I'm just here to kind of sit here and watch the stocks. Um, this is what I would be doing anyways, even if I wasn't live streaming. It's kind of sitting there having the stocks that I'm looking at pulled up. Uh, texting with my friends, seeing what kind of new ideas are out there. So if anybody else even has any other ideas, or maybe stuff that you're looking in for potential plays down the road, throw them in there. We can talk about it. That's what this is all about. And again, if it is your first time, hit the subscribe button so you get notified when I come back on. So I'll be on every day from 6 to 8 Pacific. So a half hour before the market opens until an hour and a half into the market. And on the days that I can do it, I'll also jump back on for Power Hour. I'm off work for the summer right now, so I'm at least going to be doing this for the next 2 months or so. If we kind of still have like a lot of people in here watching, and and I could make it work, I'll continue to do it even during the school year, even if I gotta maybe jump off a half hour early to go, on my way to work or something like that. But as long as people are watching and we're kind of having fun doing it, I'll continue to keep this stream going even into the fall, or figure out a way to do it at least. So let's take a look here. It looks like we did find that support, kind of around here in this range. It looked like maybe we were reversing with CLOV, and now we're coming back down. What would be nice is if we could kind of find a new support level, um, and kind of make this little ladder, which would really tell us that maybe we ended the downtrend now, right? So we step up, step down to a higher low, if this is the low right now, and then step up again. That's what we'd be looking for. What we don't want to see is this thing continue to drop and make new lows. If it does drop and maybe kind of touch the same bottom and form a double bottom, that can also be a bullish signal for us too, that the bottom is definitely in, and then we can kind of take off. Kind of similar to what GameStop just did, honestly. You see the earlier bottom this morning, right around this 223 mark. It went above VWAP, came back down, but it hit the same bottom. So GME absolutely made a double bottom just now. And I would expect it to now kind of, get ripping upwards. Um, Being that CLOV is pretty much tracking GME, it looks like today. It wouldn't shock me to kind of see this double bottom action from CLOV right now too. Um, it's really amazing how GameStop and CLOV have been tracking together. And I think it was Friday that we kind of called that out. I think it was CLOV and GME were like, mostly CLOV was moving independent of the market in general. Like all the memes were continuing to drop, and CLOV we kept on moving upwards. But these two seem to really be tracking together. Whereas from what I could tell, looking up here at these other stocks, it looks like AMC and BlackBerry are more trading in line with each other right now. So kind of weird, and that doesn't mean that that's going to continue like that all week. It just happens to be what they're doing right now today. Um, and I don't really have an explanation for that. I just, I can guess at why, but your guess is as good as mine. Um, Clover Rockets, absolutely, man. Don't get me wrong. I'm in for the long haul. But I did buy some kind of lotto ticket calls for this that expire on June 18th. So I'd really love to see us rocket this week, get that gamma squeeze going, because you know that would do a lot better for those calls that I have. And some of them are actually in the money now too. But on that dip on Wednesday, I went in and bought some $40 calls for June 18th. Probably not the smartest decision in the world. And I make mistakes too. Like usually, if one thing I do like, I know I'm kind of going in circles now, but one thing I like about making these videos now and doing the live stream and everything else is um, it kind of helps me be a better trader too. So, I kind of got to get prepared and really take a look at what I want to purchase, what I think is going to be a good play. Really pay attention to the IV. Really, it kind of makes me spend a little bit more time looking at the stuff. But I still make mistakes and rush into things too. And, last week when we were dipping on that Wednesday And Thursday, I went in and, like I said, I bought those $40 calls that expired this week. Again, probably not the smartest decision. That's definitely not something that I would have like made a video about and recommended to anybody. And those are that's my one position in CLOV right now that's in the negative. I mean, everything else I have, I have my leaps that I made a video about a while back. Um, I have some $8 and $10 calls that expire this week that are deep in the money now, that I have the opportunity to exercise on Friday. And everything else is looking pretty, but these damn $40 calls. So if we do see a gamma squeeze, I'm going to be looking to cut those and cut those quick. Um, Appreciate you learning a lot. Thank you, man. I appreciate you coming in here. That's what it's all about. Like I said, I'm learning right now too. I mean, I think anyone who thinks that they just know it all, that's a really closed-minded way of thinking. I know I don't know everything, and I'm learning every day, every single day, and I got a lot more to learn. And I think I'll probably be learning for the rest of my life. We knew that the shorts were going to attack us today. If we survive today, the pressure is really on the rest of the week, right? Yeah, I think, you know, if we could just hold this same kind of ballpark range that we're in right now, the pressure is absolutely on for the week because this gamma squeeze potential still exists. And I'm talking in terms of this week. Uh, as long as they're not covering, the short squeeze potential can go on for months, as we've seen with some other stocks. But for the gamma squeeze potential, there's absolutely a lot of pressure this week. I think from shorts and market makers, to try to keep this price lower. But if we can get the momentum and get retail to pile in, or maybe even some institutions to pile in, or maybe we get some sort of announcement this week, something. But if we can get this price above 15 and sustain it and move forward, yeah. And right now, even with this hit, I mean, yeah, we're down 7%. That's not huge. But did we go down? I got a question. Did anyone know? Did we touch 10% down? I wasn't paying attention. We go 15. Let me see something. Calculator. 1503 was the close last week. Minus 10% would be 1352. We didn't. We just missed it. 1360 here. So we never touched. So if we were to touch 1352, that would put us on the SSR. But that's not always a good thing, anyways, or it's not always what you think it could be. But anyways, yeah, I think if we can kind of hold in here with CLOV, we'll be set up. I'll pull this up one more time too. This daily chart that I think as we zoom in, we kind of touch this level here, this moving average. And if we can hold above there, that would kind of be a bullish signal, especially if we can get another green candle, let's say tomorrow. That would almost be like, okay, here, consolidation, support level. Now let's take off. So I think the key is just holding where we're at or moving higher. What we don't want to see is, kind of like a drop below 1330 and into this range, because then that would be more, that would kind of the consolidation theory would maybe kind of go a little bit there, right? I mean, right now we had this huge run up of more than 100%, and we gave some back. We're kind of consolidating. We're definitely looking to keep on running, and assuming that this was like short attacks today, and we were able to bounce off it. Now, if we can continue to kind of move higher, I could see us even seeing green today. I could see us absolutely getting into the green today. It's just a matter of, kind of like you're saying, we held the line. We sustained this short attack. We keep getting higher lows and keep moving up higher and higher. Eventually I could see us breaking into a daily high and maybe even testing 15 today. 15 is where we closed yesterday. We get above 15, go positive on the day. the next stop would probably be something like 16, 17. And, I think if we can get there, get to 18 by tomorrow or Wednesday, we should be able to kick the gamma squeeze off. So GameStop was not a double bottom. It's now making a newer low. How much is GME down on the day? 4%. Looks like AVXL. I know we were tight for just joining the stream. We were kind of talking about AVXL and how it's up on the day. Looks like it's trading above VWAP too. So it went on that kind of big run. Came down, hit this VWAP level, and it looks like it's starting to climb back up. I'm still not entering it right now. I want to do a little bit more research when we sign off and maybe look for a good entry point. But that is a stock that I'm really interested in. I also don't really have the capital to move around right now either, as I'm so kind of heavy into these three, and I'd like to be able to take some profits off these three at a good time before jumping into another play. But I'll still go ahead and look at it because everyone's different. Some of you guys might be looking to get into a new play now, and so if I see that there's some potential there, absolutely, I think that's a stock we should jump into. So I'll take a look at that on the break, and if it looks good and everything, I'll probably put a video together. Just know I'm not going to be getting into AVXL at least in the short term until I can pull some capital out of some of these other ones. But that is a stock that I really like. But it looks like AMC is still kind of trading upwards today. BlackBerry's back down below VWAP, so kind of looks like maybe even they're all over the place in regards to the memes. But CLOV is the big one. I think this has the biggest potential right now, especially this week. And so I'm really excited to see if we can get this going. Volume did fall off significantly. This will more than likely be the first day where we trade below our. Let's see here. What do we got today? Only 8 million in volume. That can't be right. Oh, I'm looking at BNGO. Sorry. All right, here we go. Yeah, so I mean, in comparison, this would be the first day since what? All of last week we traded at least more than the float for CLOV, meaning the float for CLOV was 100 million. Every single day last week was volume above 100 million, which is absolutely insane. When we hit 7 times the float on Tuesday, it doesn't look like we're going to get there today. I could be wrong. Maybe this thing will continue to rip and then draw some more volume in, but right now we're trading at about 20% of the float, and most volume normally happens earlier in the day. So you always see these bigger candles up here, and then you'll see them kind of in power hour too, but it usually drops off. And so if I had to guess, I'd say maybe we get from this point forward, maybe a 60 million volume day, 70 million volume day on CLOV, which is still significant in regards to CLOV's daily average volume is somewhere around 9 million a day, 10 million a day. So I mean that would be 7 times the daily or the daily average. But last week was insane. We were trading above the float every day. That's some high volume stuff. Maybe GameStop's looking to reverse too. So it looks like, and again, I said these MACD and all this stuff, these are delayed indicators. But like I was saying, we kind of got this upward, new low, and now a third green candle, which shows that we are definitely in an uptrend. The MACD finally switched over to green. which doesn't mean much. It's kind of a delayed, but that's showing you that, we are in an upward momentum now. RSI is still low though. You know, typically bullish would be getting this RSI above 50, and right now it's sitting at about 40. So the stock is still oversold. Is basically what this means. We're in like an oversold territory, um, which can also be good too, right? If it's oversold, that means it should be inviting for others to come in and buy, come in and get this dip, and let's get this thing back up to 15. Looks like GameStop is kind of doing the same thing now. Maybe it found its bottom, and BNGO looks, I mean, if you're in on BNGO, this is nice price action right now. We had a nice run up off the open, followed by a little consolidation, another run up. Looks like it's consolidating again, and it's probably going to go try to test this high and move on. I'm just going to pull up their level 2 real quick just to see what kind of resistance, if any. $9, $9.25, and wow, okay. So if BNGO was to really break loose today, um, you got 116,000 sell wall at 950. That's significant. Some of the other ones, 20,000, stuff like that, whatever. Those could be busted through. We've seen that. But I would imagine that if BNGO actually did get on a tear today and hit a, let's say, break this high here and go on a run, 950 is going to be a significant resistance level. I mean, that's a ton of shares. That's a big sell order. So just keep that in mind before I sign off. If you are watching this stock, I would say, 950, getting up to 950 would be amazing in itself, right? That's almost a 20% gain from where we're at right now. We're already up 7% on the day, but just looking at that level 2 data, if it was to run that high, I would expect it to kind of, hit that resistance at 950 and drop. We don't see anything major in CLOV. I mean, just kind of the same standards, highly concentrated around the strike prices, and that's about it. Any questions? Anything? Before we take off, I'm gonna be on for another 12 minutes here. Um, I think we're kind of just in a waiting game now, right? Let's see what happens. Sometimes too, it's difficult to watch these stocks when you're not actually day trading. Like I'm not looking to enter and exit this stock anytime soon. We're watching it to kind of see what happens. We obviously don't want to see it go lower. We want to see it go higher. But it's a little bit more difficult because even when you do see these big green candles, like even on a BNGO, I got this big green today, and your inclination is like, oh, should I get in there and sell? Like my BNGO calls that I bought last Friday are actually up. Looks like 13% gain on the day on this run up. But where if you were day trading, yeah, maybe you jump out of that and get in. But I'm still looking for way much more movement. So it's fun to watch, but sometimes you I get a little excited too, and I think the same thing goes for when it's going downwards. Like you see this downward movement, and it's like, oh, should I sell? Should I sell? Well, again, I do the whole little zoom out. No, if this is a long term investment or you're in for a short squeeze, this is nothing, right? This is still double what we were last week. So just something to remember, as we're watching these daily charts. And that's the other reason I put the 5 minute candles up instead of the 1 minute. If I was like day trading, I'd have 1 minute candles up. But really we're watching these charts so we can kind of get an idea of what's going on with the stock, um, and not necessarily to trade the stock. And by trade, I mean like, buy in on entry points, exit here, buy in, that sort of stuff. So that's it. Let's see here. At what time on Friday do the options actually expire? If we do touch 50 before Friday, looking for a spot to take some profit before the market closes. So, your broker is going to have the options expiration is, right at market close, right? But I believe that it depends on your broker. Like, I know, like with my TD Ameritrade, it goes until 3 p.m. on the West Coast, I believe. So, in other words, I can have until 3 p.m. to kind of like, make that decision on whether I'm not going to exercise and that sort of stuff. And I believe even if the stock moves a little bit in after hours, a stock can actually go into the money after hours as long as it happens before that 3 p.m. mark. And it could be 2 p.m. and then that's 5 o'clock on uh, the East Coast. But basically, I mean, as a rule of thumb and to be safe, I would just imagine that, expiration is at the close of the bell. Um, but the other thing that you want to be careful about is um, what your broker's intentions are, right? So if you're talking about options that expire on Friday, depending on who your broker is, they're probably going to close you out of those options. They're going to do it for you if you don't have the money to exercise them. So, I guess what I'm getting at there is, and I've had this happen to me before. Sometimes they've exercised them even when I didn't have the money to exercise them, and they just use margin to do it, and that works too. But they will close you out if you're in the money, and it seems like they always close you out at the worst possible time too. So, I think if you're in the money and you know what your intentions are, if you think that the stock's going to continue to rip on Friday, you could just let it sit there, and your broker will close you out at some point whenever they do it. Like I know TD Ameritrade typically, I want to say they do it around like 11:30 a.m. 11:30 a.m. Again, I'm on the West Coast, so what is that? That's about an hour and a half before the market closes. They'll start closing you out. Charles Schwab, I think they've given me a phone call even before, like, "Hey, what do you want to do?" I had a ton of contracts sitting there, and they're like, are you planning on exercising these, or are you going to sell them? Because right now we see that you don't have the capital in your account to exercise. And I explained to them what my intentions were. No, I'm going to sell some other stocks, free some capital up, and I want to exercise. But I wouldn't count on that. I wouldn't count on getting a phone call. I would count on your broker just going in and closing you out. Now, if you do want to exercise, a lot of brokers, especially the two I just mentioned, if you just have cash in your account sitting there, uh, you don't have to do anything. If you're in the money and the cash is sitting there, they'll just exercise it for you. But I wouldn't plan on. Again, I hope I'm answering your question. Um, I wouldn't plan on just holding them into expiration because your broker may end up canceling you out if you don't have that money. If we do touch 50 before Friday, looking for a spot to take some profit on. So yeah, so I think it all depends on your strike prices and your expiration date, right? So if I had deep in the money calls that didn't expire this week, then I'd say you don't really have the pressure to make a decision, right? So if you think the stock's going to go higher, then it's just as good as shares at that point. You could hold on to them and you could make that decision to buy and sell just like you would with shares. Like in my case, I mean, amongst other things, I have these $40 strikes um, for that expire this Friday. So I might even look to dump those even if we don't touch 50. So as we approach 25 or even 30, if without knowing if we're going to keep going higher or not, those $40 ones I'll probably look to off, just because at that point with the IV and everything, I'll be able to still get a good profit for those and kind of save myself from that dumb decision of buying those, and sell them whenever we get kind of that next upward momentum. But my deep in the money calls, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm not going to look to even do anything with those until we probably touch 50 either. Um, I hope I answered your question. I tend to ramble on sometimes, and sometimes my mind will start thinking about other things while I'm supposed to be focused on something else. It looks like CLOV is breaking out. We got another break above VWAP, and what is significant too is we kind of see like more volume, right? So usually when you pull below VWAP or above, you kind of check the volume compared to the candles around it. And if you're doing it with low volume or average volume, it's not as bullish or bearish of a sign. But because we kind of see like this higher candle here compared to the others, I would say that this is very bullish in that, maybe some new buyers have entered the market, um, and should give us more support then, right? So now that we kind of broke through VWAP with a bullish trend, more bullish volume, we should be able to hold this now and maybe start trading in this range up here. And eventually, I'd like to see us break above 15, and let's finish this day on a positive note. So same thing. This is kind of exactly what I was just talking about. So like GameStop earlier broke above VWAP, but if you look at like the volume around it, it's kind of like average or below average, and then we just fall back down. So us having kind of like this higher volume as we broke through here is a good sign. Um, Anyone who's on right now, I'm going to be signing off here shortly, but I just want to say I appreciate your support. I appreciate you guys coming on. I hope you're enjoying the stream. I got to start waking up earlier because I could tell the difference. Like there's days last week where I pretty much was dragging through the first half hour. Today being one of those days. But there was other days where I actually got up earlier, had my coffee in me, and I was a lot more awake and ready to go. So, uh, but I'm enjoying this. If you're enjoying it, hit the like button, subscribe. As long as people are continuing to come in and watch, ask questions, comment, I'll continue to come on and do this. I'm having a blast doing it. I really am. This is fun. And at the end of the day, this is something that I would have been doing anyways, just sitting here watching the stock. So I enjoy being able to do it with you. Um, I'll also be back on today for sure. I don't have plans this afternoon, so I absolutely will be back on for Power Hour. Hopefully, when we get on, we'll be seeing this stock trading at above 15, and we'll really be ready to rip and kick off something exciting, right? Um, if there's no other questions or anything else, we got about 2 minutes left. I mean, I kind of went over already what I would expect here. I think we're going to find the support here, and I think this might be the turnaround time now. Again, kind of like, we hit a high, we got higher lows. Next, we'd want to, break above this old high. Then maybe we would probably dip back a little bit more, kind of like this ladder, right? We went up, down, up. We want to see a new high, down, and then maybe even bounce off VWAP. And then we want to break this high today. We really want to see a breakout. We really want to see this thing start moving forward. And we want to see more volume. We want to see more retail pile into this thing and push us above 16, push us above 17. And 18 to me, that's going to be the breaking point. We get above 18, we're gamma squeezing. The last time we hit 18 on Tuesday, when we blew past it, like that 1850 mark, it took us all the way to 25 in a matter of 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Well, now, if we can do that again, when it takes us to 25, 25 is going to get these calls in the money now. And that wasn't there on Tuesday. And that wasn't there on Tuesday. And that's going to be the new firepower that rolls us to 30. So, gamma squeeze potential is amazing. I can't wait to see this happen. I hope it happens. I mean, obviously, there's been gamma squeeze setups before, and gamma squeezes don't happen too often. So we definitely need, the momentum. We need people to buy these shares right now to move the price higher. But the setup is there, and that's what has me excited. Um, Been holding since April. 989 average. Watched every one of your videos. Just have to say thank you. I think you're on point with your analysis. I believe Wednesday we rock it. I hope so. I hope we do rock it on Wednesday. That would be amazing. And I'm glad you've been enjoying the videos. And I'm not always right either. In May, I thought we had the potential for a gamma squeeze, and we did, and it didn't happen. We had that short report, we had some other stuff, but what's amazing is we have this potential again the next week. And to me, what that kind of tells me is that, obviously this isn't just retail. And I went over this in like one of my very first videos about CLOV, was that there seems to be, some major whales that are into this stock that are trying to hit this gamma squeeze with this stock because, I mean, and there's constantly we're seeing these call sweeps too, which is call sweeps is when like someone comes in and just buys up everything at the strike price, and they're doing it for at the ask. They're not trying to get the best price available. They're just coming in and sweeping it. And we're seeing that a lot with CLOV, and it's not just for this expiration. Like, going out to August, which is months away. Look at these numbers. These numbers are already getting built up, and these also would play into a gamma squeeze now. So, I think there's some big money behind this. I think that there's some whales that would like to see this gamma squeeze get pushed. We did see a little one last Tuesday. But I would love to see one this week. Because the setup is there now to kind of push us all the way up to $40, and and maybe that could get a short squeeze going. So, anyways, it's 8:02. I'm gonna sign off now. I gotta go take care of some stuff. I'm gonna look into AVXL. Um, I'm also there's a video I'm working on right now. I'm probably gonna record right when I get off that kind of breaks down a little bit about the fundamentals of CLOV. So look out for that. I'll be uploading that probably within the hour, um, and I'll be back for Power Hour. Hopefully GameStop can hold this 220 level right now that I called out earlier as being the support. If not, I'm really gonna be miserable because I need this thing to turn around this week. And BNGO, we're looking for it to hold VWAP and continue on, make new highs. Um, what are the best call options for the next 6 months? It's hard to say right now, only because, and I think you're speaking about CLOV, is because IV is so high. So, you know, um, in the long term, for me, I could see CLOV. If you're talking 6 months out, I think CLOV is probably a safe bet to be trading over $30. So, and the only reason and I should say the only reason I come up with that number is I think that, with that whole thing about the stock needs to trade above 30 for 90 days in order for some of those big institutions, investors that were in it from the beginning, to be able to close out their position. They're kind of locked in right now. So, if that's the case, I would imagine that once we do get a gamma squeeze, once we do get a short squeeze or whatever, when the stock falls back down, it should level. You would think that there would be some support there at the $30 level by these people who would benefit from it trading above 30 for the next 90 days, right? So I would imagine we'll see some support. And now that I'm sitting here talking about it, those may be the whales that are trying to push this gamma squeeze to make that happen. I have no idea. That's just crazy speculation by me, but it would make sense. If there's big money that is obviously keeps coming in and loading up this option chain and keeps trying to propel CLOV higher, maybe it's whoever has the best interest of it trading higher for the longer period of time. So that would also make sense. But in terms of 6 months out, that would put us all the way, at these leap level. And you just got to look at the price, and what you're going to pay for it, right? So if you were to go in and buy like the $15 strike right now, that means you need it to be trading at least 20 in 6 months. And that's kind of a expensive bet. You're paying almost 30% of the strike price right now. But that's because IV is super high on CLOV. So, you know, while I think that, you could make a lot of money in options with CLOV, I think we're getting near the point where IV is so high that it's going to be expensive. Like if you look, we were buying, um, 2022s and 2023s a couple weeks ago. These leaps for about like $1 a piece, I think. I think that's what I got them for. Let me see. Um, and the only reason I bring that up is because that is a significant difference now. So yeah, so my 2022s that I bought originally were somewhere about around $2. Looks like. Let me see. Yeah, $2. So the price is almost doubled on this. So you just got to know that what you're getting into. But if you wanted to get out here, I mean, this is probably the safest options you can get into. Um, I usually like to buy leaps closer to at the money. You don't want to be way out here, but yeah, I would say if you did something like this, you'd probably be able to get. You figure if you were to buy 100 shares of CLOV right now, that would cost you $1,400. You can also come in and buy 3 of these for 1,200, or somewhere around the same amount, like $1,400. And now you're controlling 300 shares, right? And you're also, for every contract you buy, you're putting 64 shares in the market, because that delta is about 0.64. So you'd also be helping with the upward price movement. So maybe that's where I would go if I wanted to go further out. And if you think about it, 6 months from now, you know, being able to exercise these at $15 a piece, maybe a steal, right? I mean, but if you're making this bet, you're making this bet that CLOV is going to be trading above 20 6 months from now. I think it's a good bet. Um, but I also think that options are expensive on CLOV right now, very expensive, and shares may be the best way, unless you wanted to just buy a lotto ticket. Okay, so if you just wanted to get a lotto ticket to be involved in the potential short squeeze right now, this is cheap. This expires this week though, so this is probably, this is something that you would go into knowing that you're probably just burning this money. But I would say, a good entry point, a good price. These $30 ones, if we do end up getting up to 30, would probably maybe push, if they get into the money, would be worth $2. So you'd be getting 20 times your money. I mean, you could even get in here and buy, at the money right now or somewhere like that, to really gain like the dollar for dollar movement. I wouldn't throw that much at it. Maybe somewhere in here, 20 cents. You figure you could get 5 of those for $100. The $25 call. Okay, so for $100, you're controlling 500 shares. If the gamma squeeze actually happens, you figure that thing is going to blow to like 30, and now each of those at the very least is going to be worth $5 a piece. So, you're turning a $100 investment by getting 5 of them into $2,500 if the gamma squeeze happens. That might be a good lotto ticket for this week. You know, it's inexpensive. But just go into it knowing that there's a very high likelihood the gamma squeeze doesn't happen, and you're throwing that money away because it expires on Friday. Have a great day if you make it back for Power Hour. I will. I'm actually, I got a lot of free time today. There's some stuff I'm going to work on, but I have no plans, so I'll be back at 12 o'clock. All right. Real quick. I know I'm never going to sign off. So it looks like we kind of, we got our pullback. We stayed above there. We also saw a huge increase in volume here. This is looking really bullish. You know, I think we passed this old high right here. Really, our two big levels is going to be passing this 1460 and this 1480, and that would give us a breakout on the day. That's what we'll be looking for as the day continues on, to really kind of get some momentum kicking off. All right, I got to go. Thank you, everybody, for being in here. I appreciate it. I'll be back at 12 o'clock for the last hour of the trading day. I'll see you then, hopefully.